We just want to let you know that you're not broken. We just want to normalize this, that this is all part of the process. Everybody has old habits that will creep up. Everybody has protections that they used to get through some point in their life that they just don't know quite how to let go of. So nothing's wrong with you.
Yeah. And I think there's a healthy amount of fear that comes with this process too. And being afraid doesn't make you weak. I can tell you that I still have many days that I don't live in fear. That's the wrong word. But I feel anxiety and fear. And it goes like this. It's a up and down, ever evolving road. I can have 2 or 3 really good weeks, and then I have a whole week where I'm like, but I recognize it, right? Like I have a whole week where I'm just like down and my drive is like not really there. My motivation isn't really there.
Welcome to I Am Her. We're all about glitter, grit, and grace. This is The Shift, where spiritual meets spicy, F-bombs meet forgiveness, and shadow work occasionally throws glitter.
Welcome to I Am Her, Season 2, Episode number 2. That's 2.
That's 2, by the way.
For those that don't speak Espanol.
Which we don't either.
Yeah, no, but I do today. Okay, so I am Emmy.
And I'm Thylene.
And we're so glad you're here. Okay, how have you been, Thylene?
I'm in another hotel. So, we're making the best of it. Silver lining is I get to be here with you doing a podcast, you know. How about you?
I'm doing good. My little Aubrey's been kind of sick, so she's up here. Her in the other room got the
gunk
cough, so I think I might have to take her to the doctor tomorrow afternoon, but that's okay. Other than that, just rocking and rolling, keeping on. You know, sticking with my timeline of my goals. So,
good.
Yeah, my super secret ninja goals.
But the time is coming up faster than we know it. So
I know.
We had the gunk this last weekend too. So today is like the first day that I'm like really not sounding really like congested.
Okay, well, we are bringing back an oldie but a goodie. Oldie but a goodie. It was just last season. Okay, here we go. Tarot time with Thylene. It's just not long enough.
I know. So rude. Okay. So I pre-pulled a card because we're trying to be really conscious about our timing. This is a new deck, y'all. It is absolutely gorgeous. A friend of ours gave it to me as a gift, and I've used it a couple of times, and it's just mind-blowing. I didn't speak about anything. I literally just felt I was going to do like very intentional whatever to draw the card. But as Em and I were talking before we started recording, I just had this feeling. I was like, this is the card. And I pulled it. And I was like, I'm going to use this one. So it's card number 38, which not to like tell everyone my age, but immediately I felt drawn to it. I am 38. And 8s have been very prominent. Em and I were talking about this also pre-recording, that 8s have just been sticking out to me, and 8s mean balance. And funny, this is like a very geometric card. It's geometric coherence. It's called the 3 of Portals. So with this deck, it has this beautiful book. So I'm going to read this out of the book. This isn't like the normal tarot where I use mostly intuition. This one has a message for you. So I'm going to read through that. Geometric coherence, 3 of Portals. It is time to gather your nearest and dearest around you, socialize, celebrate, and see what collaborative projects might emerge from the trusting dynamics of good friends and family. This card encourages you to gather with close friends and family. Embrace this time to come together, share, create, and perhaps collaborate. Having aligned souls around you right now is nourishing. Despite life's undulations and changes, these are the people who will stand by you with unconditional love. Cultivate time with these people. Consider organizing and gathering with a shared intention. In these curious times, having a circle of dear ones who can share joys and challenges with each other is essential because these are the people that see you and want the best for you. They uplift you, yet they can also be real with you about what is going on. This card may also signify a shared project, an opportunity to explore working together as synergistic group. With your forces combined, different skills and passions can come together like a jigsaw puzzle. Having a shared intention or goal can foster incredible cohesiveness. It supports you to move forward together more powerfully than as a single entity. You might help each other to ground big visions or create containers for healing and growth. Sometimes people have things to offer that they do not even know about until they come together with others. Someone may feel called to share something that is just the perfect thing for someone else to hear in that moment. We are all interconnected and a reflection of each other. The people we surround ourselves with help create our reality. They inspire us to see the world in different ways, open our minds, and affirm our values. Celebrate and appreciate those around you and see where you can find opportunities for harmonious co-creation. Vision for journeying. As you look around, you notice how interconnected everything is. You start to see repeating patterns of intricate shapes and glowing lines of light. Suddenly, you have hyper awareness. You can see a close up of every leaf, every tree, every human, every cell, the earth and its inhabitants, and the patterns everywhere. The micro is a fractal of the macro. What may appear to be random has an ingrained cohesiveness to it. There is a geometry that runs through everything. With your superpower ability to see it all, even for just a moment, you appreciate how humanity can work together as a team and how this can affect the whole. With your mind's eye, look around at the group of beings in this room right now, or consider the ones you hold dear in your life. Imagine a healing, coherent pattern connecting you all together in a beautiful, synergistic form, all with gifts for one another. Now imagine all beings are connected in this geometry. See it start to spin and glow with a bright light. It turns faster and faster until everything becomes one. The light gently fades, and you find yourself in a new place with a new awareness, a new stance on reality, and your interconnected effect on it. Yo, so many things. We don't talk politics on this podcast. We don't even have to touch on any of that. But what's going on in the world right now is massive upheaval. There's a lot of emotion, no matter what way you see the world right now. And I feel like this is what we're being called to do. We're being called to see each other for what we are. We're being called to look at the threads that connect us, right? We're being called as a collective to come together and find peace. Now, how you do that is your choice. Whether you meditate or you go to a church, right? You step into the four walls and you listen to someone preach the Bible. However you do that, there's no judgment. But we're being called to find our peace and to remember kindness and humanity and how we stand together. That's all I'll say on that right now. That's how I feel very much in this portion of the message. But the other portion of this message is very much a card, I think, that speaks to me and Em because of how we've come together, yin and yang, to bring a vision or version of pain and grief and life in a way that hopefully so many people can connect to. And I feel like, weren't we just talking about like,
Yeah, that's what I was
like,
gonna say. We were talking on our last episode, we were talking about how our circles are much smaller now because we have learned the people that we want to bring on the path with us.
yeah,
You know, and both of us have made some tough decisions, and we're only taking the people along with us. We love everybody else where they're at, but it's important to really look at who you're surrounding yourself with. And so that really resonated with me because I'm thinking about Cocoon Butterfly, and we have another event coming up, and that is a huge part of our circle. It's not a large circle, but it's not the size of the circle that matters. It's the people within it, because I would much rather surround myself with 2 people than be in a room of 20 people when the relationships are just not authentic and they are not serving my higher good.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool that you say that because I'm a completely different person now than I was even a year ago. But 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I craved the opposite of what you just said. I craved lots of people, lots of attention, lots of outside validation. That is what made me whole and what kept me going. I wanted to live in chaos before, and I learned to live in peace. And it's weird that I had to learn to not be in chaos, because so many people would be like, oh my God, I can't stand chaos. But for me, I craved it. For whatever reason, my body chemistry, my thought process, I had this chaos, and it fueled me. And so I just created more and more of it, because what we think about, we grow about. This is what we bring in. And so interesting to me that you say, what you just said, because I used to not want 2 people. I wanted 20. And now I'm like, like, I was just downstairs getting food in my hotel, and there was like a group of people, probably like professionals, that were meeting at the end of the day and kind of recapping. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so too many people in here. I can't. And I'm like, I started chuckling because I was like, like even a couple years ago, that I wouldn't even have really recognized that, or I would have found comfort in the fact that there was a lot of people in the room.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure they're very nice people, and I'm sure they'd be beautiful humans to get to know. But when you are in the space to where you're protecting everything that you have because you've been through the shit, you're very selective of who you allow in. And I am a firm believer, though, on that note of you seeing that group of people, I'm a firm believer that every single person we meet, even if it's passing somebody on the street, they are put in our life at that time and that moment for a reason, even though we don't recognize the reason right then.
What a beautiful way to start off our episode 2. And, I really was going to be more like drawing the card and setting intentions, but I love how that happened where I don't even know, we were in the middle of talking about something and I just picked up the deck, because I play with cards sometimes when they're sitting in front of me, and I split the deck and I was like, that's it. And I knew I had to share that card today. So I hope that resonates with someone or everyone. If it doesn't, it's okay. Feel free to leave it. But I hope that gave you something to at least think about. Okay.
Yeah. So good. All right, everybody. LaCroix Fuzzy Water. Lemoncillo. Whatever you want to call it.
Not correct, but we're going to go with it.
0 calorie, 0 sweetener, 0 sodium equals
innocent.
Thank you, Mr. LaCroix. Okay, here's for the best part. Carry on. All right, well, let's get to the pulse. Okay, so today we are talking about not asking for permission when old habits show. I should say not asking for permission even when old habits show up, because you shouldn't really have to ask for permission anyway. So at some point, asking for permission isn't about being polite. I mean, there are certain situations where it is polite to ask permission.
What you're saying is it's not a one size fits all. Like, we get that there are moments, but what we're specifically talking about.
Yeah, it's in the grand scheme of things, generally speaking, what we're talking about is the type of permission that makes you stay small. And even knowing that, the old habit can still show up. And I will give you an example of something that's been happening to me recently, is because I'm learning to be comfortable with not tying my worth to any sort of dollar value or anything like that. So I still find myself explaining in my various businesses that I'm starting and that I've had, is why I have things priced the way I have them priced. Instead of just saying, here's what it will cost you, I find myself, this is why, because of this and this and this and this and this. And that comes from the fear of people not wanting what I have to offer because I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
And in reality of me explaining myself, I'm asking that person for permission for my own choices. Like, I chose to put this price point on this service. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay for you to pay that? And that is just an old habit that keeps coming up for me. And also explaining, another one I want to throw in there too, is explaining why, if I say I can't do something at a certain time, instead of just saying, no, I'm busy, I tell them why, what I'm doing, why I'm busy. You know, there are certain situations, obviously, like when you and I talk and, no, I'm at the doctor or whatever. But
because you better have a damn good reason to not do what I asked you to do.
Explaining ahead of time shouldn't be a thing. If I'm not available, I'm not available.
Yeah.
Straight up. And so I also want to point out too, I think it's important that when these old habits do come up, it doesn't really mean you're regressing. It just means that you're stretching, because when you recognize them as old habits, that is growth. Because you recognize that you need to get out of that, and you're not going to stay there. And it doesn't mean that you're not evolving. They're not going to disappear just because you started evolving. Growth doesn't erase it. It actually exposes that part of you, because you have to work through that in order to get it out. Because those old habits once protected you. And so that's why you keep coming back to them when you almost feel, I don't know if threatened is the right word, but when you start to feel like your walls are starting to break down, you're instantly going to put them back up, and that's what you were used to doing, and so that's what you're going to do. Yeah. What do you think about that, Thylene?
I definitely resonate with that, because I, too, have habits that I come back to. Apologizing when there's nothing to apologize for. But it's natural for me to get ahead of the game in the way that I used to protect myself. Sometimes I start with, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, sorry for what? So realizing that I don't have to apologize in every situation. I'm trying to think of other old habits that I have. Growth is just so funny, because sometimes these things don't hit you until you are in the thick of it, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that still lived inside of me. I thought we were done with that a long time ago. So, I mean, a big one is like the apologizing or the over explaining. Being a recovering people pleaser means that you're recovering. Like, it's going to come up and you're going to have to overcome it every time it comes up because that is your natural reaction to something. And so it's okay that it filters through that version of you before you get to the point where you can say no or set your boundary, period. It is a process and it will forever be a process. Like I don't want people to think that you get to this place where you're just like, ah, and you get it right every time. You don't, and you won't, and that's okay. Give yourself grace as you're going through these times. And the fact that you can even recognize now when you are doing it is a huge step. To be able to say that you had this interaction and you were explaining all the benefits when they weren't asked for. And you know why you do it. You do it because it's connected to your worth. Having that put together in the puzzle finish to where you can look at it and say, ah, I was doing that. Are you fucking kidding me? That's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge because how many years of your life did you not know that connection? And you just were broken going in all these different directions and you didn't feel satisfied. You didn't feel whole. You didn't feel like you had a grasp of your life or an understanding. And now you have this gift of awareness. That alone is huge, but it is a journey.
Oh, it's
Your whole life. It's a journey.
It's very much a journey because, and I know I've talked about this many times, but I was stuck in this pattern for a couple of decades of basically being required to explain my choices and explain my decisions in order to just keep the peace and to have a relationship with my children. I this is something that I was basically forced to do, and it is so hard to break that habit.
Yeah.
When you had to do that in survival mode, because that's where I was stuck for so long, was in survival mode. I didn't know any other way to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't even until just a few years ago that I was started learning, because it wasn't until the last year or so I've been comfortable enough to say, yes, this is an old habit that keeps coming up. I know that I need to work on it, because before it was just, that was life. I just
Yeah.
did it without even realizing I was doing it. And so I just think it's also important to say that you're not slipping back. When you find these old habits coming back up, it
I
doesn't
agree.
mean that you're slipping backwards. It's not one step forward, two steps back. Because like I said, when you can recognize that it's an old habit and this pattern keeps showing up, maybe you need to just sit for a minute and think, why is this showing up? What can I change? What thought pattern is creeping back into my
Yeah.
brain that I need to work through? And then you sit with that and you work through it.
And that portion that you're talking about is when you hear us talking and we say, get curious. That's what we're talking about. Is now you've got this awareness. You've created this awareness of around X behavior. Now get curious. Ask questions about who, what, where, when, why. You know, when I was in not elementary school, middle school, there was this thing we had to do. It's called the 5 W's, and it was in our science class, and we had to pick a topic and tell who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. And if I can recognize those 6 things, then I'm way closer to either overcoming, releasing, or just knowing that like where I want it, like what I want to do with it, right? Who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. That's the foundation of the curiosity that I have when I run into these very traumatic things that I deal with. And so I think that if we go back to these things when they happen again, and instead of going to this place of tense anxiety of, oh my God, I thought I healed that, why is it back? Instead of doing that, giving yourself the grace and then going back through your who, what, where, when, why, sometimes how, will remind you of where you're at, where you came from, and it'll allow you to place it and either release it or say, hey, I'm going to hold on to this for a little bit and I'm going to do a little bit more work on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it reminds me what we were talking about at the beginning when you were reading that explanation of that card, because I think this is kind of one of the ways that I've determined who I want to be within my circle is the people that I find myself over explaining to the most. Those are the people that I don't really want near me, because there's some reason that I feel like I owe them an explanation even though I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people that are in my circle now, they will help me recognize, hey, you're over explaining yourself. I don't care about that. That's not what I asked you.
Yep.
But the other people, they will keep asking and try to pull it out of me. And then I start just brain dumping shit that they don't need to know. And so that's one way that I personally have started to kind of filter out who is within my circle. Yeah. And
healthy to be in your circle.
I think it's also important too that we really, not to shame anybody, but there is a cost for waiting for this permission that you're asking for when you are over explaining, because it does cause a loss of momentum for you, because when you feel like you're slipping back in, you can almost feel the defeat, and it's not defeat. And there's also can be quiet resentment that comes with it, because you're actually, resenting the fact that you haven't let go of this, or you might start to resent the person that you're over explaining yourself to, causing more anger within you. And there's a cost that comes with that. And it really, I think it almost closes windows that your intuition is trying to open for you when you have that resentment. It's like this cycle that you don't want to be in.
It's so funny to me that you just said window, because and I'm going to break this down just how I would work it through in my brain, like real time. To me, instead of saying doors, because so many doors have already been closed, and it tells me how far along in your journey you are. You've already closed all these doors. Now you're looking at windows. Fuck the doors. Like, it's just so interesting to me how our minds work, and how, because in my head, I was like, picturing this, because I'm vision. I do, I envision things as you're talking to me, and I can see little M like running around, and all the doors are already closed, and she's window, and then but you're like, oh, but I don't see the window because I already told myself this, or I'm not worthy of that. And so it's just so interesting how the mind works. My brain takes us in really weird directions, but this is why I want to bring in experts, like people who have gone down the path and can really deep dive, because I would like to take what you just said. I mean, I'm going to chat GBT it tonight. Like, that's happening. But I would love to have like an expert on that works with the mind and understands the connections more than we do, and explain, because my intuition is picking up on that. It sounds so weird. I feel like I sound like a crazy person, but there's got to be some significance there that you, instead of, I don't think it was just a word play. I don't think you just like forgot that the saying was door, not window. I think that was a connection for you. I think it was like I think there's something there.
The reason I say window, though, is because I envision a window opening and, just fresh air coming in.
Okay. So there is something there for you.
And when the window is, the fresh air is out there, but the window won't open, or it can't open because there's something pushing up against it, then you feel closed off. And this over-explaining and asking for permission by just saying things that don't need to be said, you're really blocking your path to get to the window to open it, if that even makes sense. So that's why I say window, because fresh air is important. You breathe in the air because we need air to live. So that's why I use window, I think, because I can relate more to a window than I can a door analogy. And yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I also think
I need someone who knows more about this to come on here and explain it.
So at our new intro, we have included glitter, grit, and grace. And we also say this is the shift. Going forward, I think it's important in every episode to include the shift. And so when I was coming up with the idea for today's episode, and this is what came up for me, the shift is that self-permission is not explaining. It's not necessarily, can I do this? Is this okay with you? Would you be okay if? Am I allowed to? But it is, like we talked about, is over-explaining. But self-permission doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be something dramatic. You don't need to announce it. It's a decision that you make inside of yourself. And it's quiet and it just moves. It's nothing that you need consensus for. It's just something that you do. So that shift happens internally. And then if you find yourself explaining why you've made this shift, you need to go back because you haven't quite worked through it all the way. Or
you're feeling like you need outside validation to get the rest of the way there. And that's not it.
Yeah. So if you're
not quite, you still have to tweak.
Yeah, you got to tweak it a little bit. So if you're waiting for permission, just consider this your reminder. You already gave it to yourself when you chose to make this shift into self-permission. Nobody needs to give you permission to continue on your path to whatever makes you happy.
Yep. I concur. I think that we're touching on a subject that needs to be talked about more. Because when I got to the point of healing where, and this is just recently, that things would come back up and I'd be like, oh no, I didn't heal it. So I think that this part is really important to talk about and deep dive into because we forget that we're supposed to be giving ourselves grace. We forget that we're in this everlasting transition of life where things are constantly changing and we're constantly adapting. I think that we get so caught up in the emotion, in the fear, in the angst, anxiety, that it causes us to forget how we've trained ourselves because we've been one way longer than we've been our healed self for most of us. It is so challenging to pull yourself out of something, especially when it's connected to something that you've done in survival mode.
Yep.
So that if you're in a state of complete trauma and you do something that kind of like gets you around, just barely gets you around that trauma, and it works, it's not like it puts you in this whole other place or it's perfect or fantastic. It literally just gets you from point A to point B. When you find one of those, that's the sweet spot. And we don't like to leave our sweet spots. It's not even comfortable. It's just the point between A and B that works.
Yeah.
And those are the patterns that we have to disrupt, the sweet spot. Or they can take you back into where you don't want to go, into the pain, into the trauma. And that very much sounded like I am saying ignore. Nope, not saying that. I'm saying that we have to disrupt patterns. I'm saying that we have to become hyper aware in order to disrupt it long enough to create a new pattern that becomes more natural to us than the patterns that we created in the past.
Yeah. I think it kind of goes back to what I said when we first started talking about this, is like, to your point, it's very important to disrupt the pattern, but also recognizing it is a sign that you are on the right path to disrupting that pattern. Don't get discouraged. This comes up a lot for a lot of people when they realize their old habits are popping up. They tend to feel guilty for choosing themselves. And choosing yourself is where the shift comes in. So that shift, when you start to realize that shift is for positive, that guilt will start to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you don't stay there, that's forward movement. And it's also important to know that this is just human behavior. It's a human thing to go back. We just want to let you know that you're not broken. We just want to normalize this, that this is all part of the process. Everybody has old habits that will creep up. Everybody has protections that they used to get through some point in their life that they just don't know quite how to let go of. So nothing's wrong with you.
Yeah. And I think there's a healthy amount of fear that comes with this process too. And being afraid doesn't make you weak.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I still have many days that I don't live in fear. That's the wrong word. But I feel anxiety and fear. And it goes like this. It's a up and down, ever evolving road. I can have 2 or 3 really good weeks, and then I have a whole week where I'm like, but I recognize it, right? Like I have a whole week where I'm just like down, and my drive is like not really there. My motivation isn't really there. Even with podcasting, I love what we are doing. But in the thick of it, when you think about the consistency that it takes to show up 2-3 days a week to record these, and when you have trauma that you still are working through, it's very challenging to choose to not sulk or not want to just shut everything out. There's often times that I have to convince myself to put these headphones on and get on and do this. But every fucking time that I do, I am so grateful that I do, because talking with Em and putting this out is part of my healing. It heals me to help others heal, to know that my silver lining can be a part of someone else's movement or golden nugget that pushes them along and makes things just a tad bit easier for them. So you're doing fine. No matter where you are in your story, in your process, just know it's fine and take a deep breath and it's all going to be okay. And then once it's okay, life will turn itself upside down again in some way, shape, or form. We just get better tools and we get better at it. And we get stronger and we build our soul tribe stronger, and we find ways to patch these holes so that we can live fulfilling, beautiful lives.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. We unpacked quite a bit, so we are thankful that you have stuck with us, and we really hope that we have given you some sort of nugget to just take with you as you move forward in your healing journey, so you know that you're not alone.
You are loved.
We are going to move into her vibe check and talk about... Oh, I don't have that.
Oh,
so that was good.
Disappointed.
I have to reconnect my phone to that, and then we can have that again. So, in the meantime, there you go.
Nailed it.
So, we're just going to give our top takeaway from our episode today. So, Thylene, would you like to go?
Oh, my top takeaway is connection. We're all here to connect. And I realized how beautiful it can be when we connect, which is exactly the heart of I Am Her, is connecting with people who sometimes need someone to be their voice, sometimes need that someone to say, this is how it is, and you don't need permission. You know, the things that we do, people might be missing in their life. You know, they may not have found their soul tribe yet, and will be that soul tribe until you find your soul tribe. And maybe we become your soul tribe. Maybe we start a little group of soul tribe. Like maybe that's what our subscription will be, is the soul tribe. And I guess my takeaway is just the connection piece. We are human and we connect at our core. And my takeaway is that we're doing the stuff and the things. We're doing what we're meant to do here. And I'm proud of us.
Oh.
You're like really clapping. That was great.
Yeah. Okay, I think mine is how important it is to look for the permissionless moments in life. Is that a word, permissionless?
I mean, sure,
it is now. Just look for all the moments where you may want to ask for permission or over-explain, and then just pause, and then stop talking.
Yeah.
Look for those moments, because you will feel so much lighter when you can say, you know what? I did it. I didn't say what didn't need to be said, and I'm okay with that. So.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, take what resonates, leave the rest, and remember, somewhere a lion in a Hawaiian shirt is cheering you on. Bye,
love
everybody.
You. Bye.